Hey y'all, Mama Snark here. I wanted to pop on and do a quick little video that I've seen like so many questions about on all of the different like cruise social media posts and things like that. And it's a controversial topic. But I wanted to pop on and do a little like tutorial on tipping on a cruise ship. How much cash should you plan to bring with you? How much do you tip? What different things you tip for? What different services? Like who you're supposed to be tipping or, supposed to be tipping. So, without further ado, I'm going to start by saying this is going to vary widely by person. It is a person by person preference. It is not a requirement. It's not a requirement to tip anybody ever. You don't have to tip somebody if you don't want to tip somebody. So this is going to be, and the tipping range is going to vary wildly from person to person. So like, whereas some people might tip 20%, some people might tip nothing. They might tip 10%. Some people might go above and beyond and tip 40%. It's going to be a personal preference and what you're comfortable with. So this is going to be my personal tipping preferences and how much cash I brought, what I tipped for, who I tipped, to prepare you on how much cash you should prepare to bring on your cruise. So this is going to be specific to Carnival Cruise Line because that's what my husband and I just recently cruised on. We did a 7-night sailing. So all of these things and topics and things like that I'm going to bring up are going to be specific to a 7-night Carnival cruise. I'm not sure how other cruise lines handle like the gratuities, if they do like the prepaid like Carnival does or anything like that. So, and I'll start by saying that I guess with Carnival Cruise Line, you do the prepaid gratuities, which people on the cruise forums are like, you don't need to tip anyone anything extra because you already prepaid your gratuities. And while that might be true, if you think about it, those prepaid gratuities, I think it's usually like $100 per person or something like that. Like it's not a lot. And that's going to get divided up for so many people on the ship. That's going to go to housekeeping. It's going to go to your cabin steward. It's going to go to the people who run like the Lido deck and Blue Iguana and Guy's Burger Joint and all that stuff. It's not going specifically just to the people who serve only you. It's getting divided up among everyone on the ship. So again, tipping preferences are going to vary widely. I am a middle class full-time working person. I don't make a whole lot of extra money. My husband and I saved for about 1.5 years to go on this cruise. We asked for Carnival gift cards for birthdays, Christmas, things like that in order to be able to afford to go on the cruise. So when you factor in extra money for tipping, it adds up. So my personal philosophy, it's the same as going out to eat. If you can't afford a tip, you can't afford to go, kind of thing. And I know it's awful to factor in that extra after you've already saved up and spent so much money on like the base of the cruise itself. But for my conscience and my preferences, this is what I brought. So without further ado, the first thing I'll tell you is you want to bring more than enough cash with you, because what you don't want to do is what we had to do and end up having to go to the ATM on the ship. It was a $6.50 service fee. I think he took out like $60 or $80 or something like that. So what you want to do is have that cash with you beforehand. I recommend going to the bank and taking out varying amounts in different bill sizes, because if you just go to the ATM, it's going to spit out all 20s. And then you're stuck trying to make cash. You're stuck, trying to break money, which nobody wants to break money for you. So I recommend going into the bank before your cruise, go on your lunch break, whatever, and get X amount in various bill sizes so that you're covered. So first person people that you're going to be tipping when you go on a Carnival cruise, when you first go into port, it's going to be the porters who are handling your baggage. So when you pull into port, there will be porters there collecting luggage from people. You'll get your luggage tags like on the Carnival site in your email, whatever, before you cruise, and you'll have that already attached to your luggage. So when you get to the port, the porters are taking your luggage, putting it on, you know, trolleys and bringing it where it needs to go on the ship. And then eventually, once all the rooms open up, your bags will be delivered to your stateroom. It'll be outside your stateroom door. So rule of thumb is about $5 per bag. So hubby and I had 3 medium-sized suitcases that we checked and gave to the porter, so we tipped $15. So it's a general rule of thumb. Some people say $2 per bag. Some people say $10 per bag. Again, it's going to vary on person by person. This is what I did personally. The next thing that you need to prepare for is, and again, not everybody does this, but for my conscience, is to tip your cabin steward. And there are various ways in which you can tip them. Some people, and this is kind of what I did, likes to tip day by day. So what I did throughout our cruise is I left a little bit each day. And that number changed day by day, just kind of depending on what cash I had on hand and what cash I needed to reserve for later things. So like one day I would leave a 10, another day I'd leave a 20, another day, you know, leave more. That at the end of the cruise, we left, I think like 40 to 60, like a chunk at the end. But I will also say, make sure you're tipping your cabin steward on the last like sea day of your cruise, because if you leave it at the very, very end, there's no guarantee that that's the person that's cleaning your room. Like it kind of does like an all hands on deck at the very end. So to make sure that your personal cabin steward that has been taking care of you the entire time gets that money, leave it the night, like the last day of the cruise, so that they have that. So for us personally, like I said, we kind of tip day by day. I would recommend at least $60 bare minimum personally. And then I think we ended up doing about $100 total throughout the cruise. Like I said, we just leave a little bit each day, and then at the end we left like a bigger chunk. Some people leave $20 per day. Some people do just like 100 at the end. Some people do 200 at the end. Some people do 40. It's gonna vary person by person. I will say, and it'll probably vary based on the service that you're getting too, but I will say I've done 4 Carnival cruises now. I've never had bad service. Cabin stewards, always amazing. They learn your name on the first day, and then every time they see you, they greet you by name. They come in once a day and give you fresh towels, make your bed, you know, freshen up anything. The first day that we were there, I left a note asking for ice, and we had an ice bucket full of ice waiting in our room when we got back. And every day after that, we had a bucket of ice waiting in our room, because he realized, oh, hey, they like ice. So from then on out, every time he came, it was once a day when we were there to clean the room and freshen up and stuff, he left a fresh bucket of ice. They always go above and beyond. And I will say also, this Carnival cruise ship, we did the Carnival Jubilee, was very understaffed, like very understaffed. No fault of the people that worked there. They were doing their darndest. They did an excellent job with service given what they had to work with. So please leave something extra for your cabin stewards. Like, unless they are throwing trash around the room and just like making your room a mess and stealing things or something like that, which I've never heard of happening, please tip them. Next after that is going to be your main dining wait staff. If you're not a person that goes to the main dining room for dinner, this doesn't apply to you. Disregard this. We personally did like to go to the main dining room every night. We picked, you can pick from early dining, late dining, or anytime dining. If you do anytime dining, I believe you get a different wait staff every time. So maybe carry, you know, small bills, $5, $10 here and there to tip them each night. With the early dining and the late dining, you have a set table that you will sit at every single night of your trip. You will have the same wait staff every single night of your trip. So with that, I know there are some people like we were at a 6-top table out of a 7-night cruise. One night we had one couple, and then another night we had the other couple, and then we never saw them again. And it wasn't like the first and the second night of the trip. It was like nights 3 and night 5 or something like that. So not everyone likes to go to the main dining room. They don't like the strict, rigid, like, this is your seat, this is your time, this is your server, this is whatever. They like to explore other eateries around the ship. They have, upscale charges. You can do like the steakhouse. You can do On the Carnival Jubilee, they had 2 like extra places that you can dine. That was free the first time you dine there, and then $8 each person after that. So it's just going to depend on you. We are main dining room people. Hubby and I, the food wasn't great, and it never is on a Carnival ship or any cruise ship. The food's not going to be the main focus. It's under-seasoned. It's mediocre at best. But we enjoyed being able to have a place to sit where we were not crowded. We were not elbowing people, fighting in lines, because y'all, people get rude, especially people that have had a little bit of mom and dad juice. They get belligerent. Buffets ick me out. Like, I don't like buffets. We did buffet on our embarkation day because was the quickest and easiest option, and I about wanted to throw up. Like, I can't do a buffet. So the Lido deck is out for us, but we preferred and liked having a set table, a set dining staff every single night, placing our order. They bring us our stuff. So like hubby had said, our head waitress, her name was Pan. Phenomenal. She was great. She had a great personality, remembered what we liked, what we didn't like, just was bubbly, super friendly, super helpful. And like he said, it wasn't the food that kept us coming back every night to the main dining room. It was the wait staff. Pan was amazing. So we tipped her at the end. I think we tipped $60 at the end for her. We probably should have tipped a little bit more, to be completely honest. But some people don't tip at all for their main wait staff. You have the same waitress or waiter every single night, every trip. And if they do an excellent job and serve you, and they're, again, that's part of the prepaid gratuities, same as your cabin steward, but it's going to be such a small chunk because it gets divided against so many people of the ship. So we personally gave her an extra tip, thanked her for awesome service and doing a great job. Next up is going to be, okay, this isn't going to apply to everyone either, but room service. One of my absolute favorite part of cruising, and I'll link that video tutorial down below. I did a quick little recap on how it works now on Carnival ships. I love getting room service breakfast. That is my absolute favorite part of cruising, is to get breakfast delivered to my stateroom in the morning and then take it out on my balcony. I have to cruise with a balcony. I have severe motion sickness. Take it out on the balcony, drink my coffee, have my little croissant and fruit with nobody else around me, in my pajamas, watching the ocean. Favorite part about cruising. So, again, I'll link that tutorial down below, but breakfast is still free on a Carnival cruise. Like room service breakfast, it's continental, it's included. Lunch and dinner do have a service charge. But regardless of what you're ordering, because if you're ordering something that has a charge to it, it's going to go to your sign and sell card, like onto your account. The bill will settle at the end of the cruise. If you're doing the free breakfast, they bring you a bill and it all has zeros on it because everything's included. And there's a spot to write a tip, so you can tip to your sign and sell card with that. I prepared and brought cash because I knew this was one of my favorite parts of cruising. So I typically did about $4 each morning that we got room service delivered, so $2 per person. So for that, make sure you have some ones. You can do $5, you can do $2. It's, it's your preference, but someone is going out of their way to bring it specifically to you. Tip a little bit, tip something. Okay, this is the one that got us and why hubby ended up having to go to the ATM and paying that $6.50 service charge. Excursions. When we booked the cruise, again, 2 working middle class people, we're not rolling in the dough. So when we booked the cruise was not cheap, paid it over a year and a half. We decided not to do any shore excursions because they are flippin' expensive and we did not want the extra cost. Well, hubby realized on day 2 of the cruise that he did in fact want to do shore excursions because that was what he remembered enjoying the most out of our last couple of cruises that we did. So we went on the Carnival Hub app. We looked at the different shore excursions we wanted to do, and we went ahead and booked a couple of them. So that wasn't something I was expecting coming onto the ship. So I didn't take enough cash out. Always take out more than you think you need. So 4 shore excursions. Our first day was Honduras and Rotan, Mahogany Bay, which Carnival has its own section of the beach now on the port that they personally own. It's called Isle Tropical now. But we knew from research and from going to that port on our honeymoon that we weren't going to do a shore excursion there, that we were just going to use the free beach that they have. So we didn't need any tipping money for that one. The next excursion we did, we went to Costa Maya and saw the Mayan ruins. And we opted to do it was like a private tour, semi-private tour. They had a bunch of different shore excursions that were basically the same thing, but some of them were on like charter buses with 40 plus people. We opted for the one that was like 10 people max. And it was like private transportation, private tour guide. You got water, soda, and or beer on the way to and from. So that's the one that we opted to do because we were introverts, and it was only like $30 extra to do that one, and we don't like being around crowds of people. So we did that one. For that one, we had, like I said, a private tour guide and something that we weren't banking on, so we needed extra cash for that. Thankfully, I did bring extra with me, was a driver. So we have a private driver. So what they did was you get to the port, they took us backstage. We got into a like private taxi with our taxi driver and our tour guide. We get there, the guy drove us there. Our tour guide, she took us out and around, did the spiel, did the guide, went back in the taxi. He drove us back to port. And like she said, at the end of the excursion, we may work together, but we don't live together. So that being said, basically, please tip us separately. Don't give us a chunk for both of us to figure out how to split later. So, because she was the one that was like actually like guiding us and doing the thing, we tipped her 40, and then we tipped her driver 20. Again, that's going to vary person by person. You can tip 60, you can tip 80, you can tip 20, you can tip 10, you can tip whatever makes your conscience and your heart feel better. That's just what we did personally. So we did tip them individually because, again, like, they don't live together. So you don't want to leave them with that awkward trying to figure out, well, should we split it? How do we split it? That kind of thing. She did more work, so we gave her more money. And then the next one we did was Cozumel. We ended up doing, it was only $60 per person, but it was like an all-inclusive beach situation with snorkeling and all included, drinks, margaritas and beer, and a buffet. So with this one, and we didn't know how it worked until we got there. So we got to the port, you meet up with, the excursion people, they have the number, you find them, they give you your sticker, you follow them. Went to the back, got a taxi, which the guy said he paid for the taxi. So like you get in a taxi, we didn't have cash to tip the taxi driver because we weren't expecting this. We were expecting to get on like a Tinder or something. But taxi, it was like maybe a 5-minute taxi drive down the way to a beach, like off the side of the road. Our guide did like the snorkel tour with us. He was phenomenal. His name was Julio. He saw that I had a GoPro because I'm a vlogger. So I had the GoPro with me snorkeling and I was, filming stuff. He ended up taking it. He said, give me the GoPro, and he took it and he went like down to the bottom and like stuck my GoPro in the cenotes, like caves. And then like he went and found a stingray that was like hidden on the bottom of the ocean floor and like poked at it and followed it with the GoPro as it was like coming out, which was awesome. So we have like amazing, awesome footage from this trip. Great. Now I will say he had like a helper with him or an extra guide. We didn't tip him because we didn't personally interact with him. Like he did help gather the snorkeling people and all that kind of stuff, but like we didn't really interact with him a whole bunch. So we probably should have tipped him a little something, but again, I didn't have enough cash because I was underprepared. So I ended up tipping our snorkeling guide 40 or 60. I can't remember, somewhere between there, with 20s that I had. Again, didn't tip the taxi driver because I wasn't prepared for it. I would have given him a couple of bucks had I had extra cash on me. And then one of the last things, or the last thing, is going to be ports. Money that you're going to need for ports, like whenever you dock in the different stations. And this is going to vary depending on where you're docking, what you're doing, whatever. So for me, I personally wanted to bring cash for souvenirs because I personally am not very comfortable with the idea of my credit card numbers floating around in Mexico somewhere. It's just an overabundance of caution on my part because that's not really something that I want to risk. So I'm not saying it's not safe. I'm just saying personally, I don't want to. So we did not do a whole lot of like in the port, like tourist trap kind of stuff. That is not our vibe. We don't like crowds. Not our thing. So first port was Honduras, Rotan, Mahogany Bay, coast, what is it? Isla Tropical. I only spent $10 the entire port thing. And that was on a fresh coconut, which the guy, like, you go to the little coconut water stand, they hack the coconut open in front of you, stick a straw in it, you get fresh coconut. I tipped. It was $8 per coconut. So I gave him a 10. He gave me $2 back. I tipped $1 when I got the coconut. And then after you're finished drinking the water, you bring the coconut back and they hack it up and like hack it, scoop out all of the coconut meat and put some sugar on it and give it back to you so you can eat the coconut afterwards. So I tipped $1 for that. So that was $10 cash. The next one at Costa Maya, after we did our shore excursion with the Mayan ruins, we left because, oh man, that port, I don't think I got any footage of like the actual port itself because I was having an anxiety attack. Like I looked at my husband and I was like, you have to get me out of here. Like, I'm not going to make it. I'm going, like, I'm going to stop breathing. I got to go. So the port of Costa Maya, we did not spend any money because after we did our store excursion and they dropped us back off, we said, peace. And I basically, like, my husband's 6'3" and 220 pounds. So I basically put my body behind his back and like held on to him and had him like navigate us through the port back to get on the ship because oh man, it was bad. But if you plan on, I think they have like a free pool there and they have like loungers and chairs and stuff. And I did see some signs on it that said like reserved for people ordering food and drinks. So I would recommend bringing a big chunk of cash if that's what you want to do at that port, is hang out in the port hub and get you some little drinky drinks and some food if you wanted to do shopping. I mean, they had like tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of shops. I am not a shopper. I like Amazon. I like it coming to my house where I don't have to see or speak to anyone or deal with any people. So for that, Cozumel, the only like shopping that we did is I did stop at, because unless you're doing a shore excursion in Cozumel, it's literally just like a pier with like the duty free store. And then it has shops going this way, like on a T kind of thing. They have t-shirt shops. They have pharmacies. They were advertising all kinds of stuff that you could buy in Mexico. I'm assuming without a prescription. I have prescription, so I'm good. I'll just get it from my pharmacy. But, they have, you know, like all the different just regular touristy type shops and name brand shops and alcohol and all that kind of stuff. The only thing that we purchased in Cozumel was t-shirts. I got two kids t-shirts and one t-shirt for myself. My husband didn't want one and I spent $30 cash on that. So we didn't spend a lot of money on souvenirs. Like I said, if you're planning on doing shopping, like I know people love to go down there and get like fake purses and go crazy on the duty-free like alcohol and all that kind of stuff. That's just personally not our thing. We didn't want to do that. Honestly, we didn't want the hassle of having to, because like if you buy alcohol at the duty-free shops, when you're getting back on the ship, you have to turn that in and they give you a card. And then on the last day, on debarkation day, you have to go and pick that back up. We didn't want the hassle of having to do that. So yeah, in total, and I'll insert the numbers here on the screen, this is what I would recommend as a base on what to bring and what denominations to bring. So ones, I would bring at least $20 in ones, maybe 30 just to be safe for tipping room service, maybe tipping like the taxi driver here and there, things like that. Fives, I would bring 15 to 20 in fives. We only use fives to tip our porters, like the guys that handled our luggage getting onto the ship. Tens, I would take about 30 in tens, maybe 40 in tens, 50 in tens, just so you have a few of those lower bills in case you decide to get like a drink at a bar or something like that. Like I would recommend bringing a lot more tens if you're going to do that. That way you can you don't have to open a tab, you can pay per drink. We didn't do any drinks at bars other than our all-inclusive one. Oh, shoot. I forgot to tell you about that one. Okay, so in Cozumel, after we did the snorkeling and stuff like that, we did actually, I think we did like 10 one time and then 5 another time and then 5 another time after that. We had a server that was that specifically would find us and bring us our included margaritas and beer. And he hooked us up. Like he gave us a lot. At one point, hubby had like 3 beers. He had like 1 half finished and like 2 full beers. And I had 2 like margaritas I was working on. So we did tip him. It's not necessary. It's all inclusive. But like when they say all inclusive, it's expected to tip out of, you know, generosity and to tip for your service. So I forgot about that. We did tip our bartender, or like our server that was running us drinks from the bar. So if you plan on getting drinks at bars at the ports, I would bring more tins. That way you can pay by like per drink. I'm not sure how much they run. I'm assuming around $6 to $8 a drink. Typically we tip like $1 or $2 a drink. So that's going to depend on you. And then for 20s, I would bring at least $300 worth of 20s so that you could tip like your cabin steward, your main dining wait staff, your excursion guides, things like that. And then I would bring a lot more than that if you're planning on shopping for souvenirs and things. Like I said, we didn't. So 300 was about what we ended up needing in 20s overall. Again, this is going to vary person by person. I know some people that are like, the tips are included in the Carnival ship and I'm not tipping anyone anything extra, and you know, I'm not tipping per drink, and I'm not tipping my shore excursion people. Like, this is their job, this is what they're supposed to be doing. That's on you. If that lays good on your heart and with your conscience and you can do that and that's what you believe, okay. Personally, I like to tip for good service, and if they're taking time out of their day, and I understand that it's their job, but if they're going above and beyond and doing more and making your day better, I'm going to tip for that. Other people will tip, are a lot more generous than I am. I wish that I had the means to be more generous than I am, but being middle class, full-time working, mom of 2, and mom of 2 very large breed dogs that cost a lot of money, this is what I was able to do. So this is not a like hard and fast line. It's going to vary by person. So this is just a good baseline for you on how much cash to kind of plan on taking out for a 7-night cruise. Again, this is Carnival specific, but it probably is a good, you know, baseline for all cruise ships. So hopefully this was helpful and informative to kind of give you like an idea of, you know, where to start. And again, I would take out more rather than less, because you can always use the cash at home for other things. So you don't want to have to pay that ATM fee on the ship. Please give this video a like and a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell, subscribe, and follow along for more cruise content coming at you. Bye guys.